Hello everybody, Mark here with Midgard Mercantile, and we're back for another weekend of streaming. We have all sorts of minerals and fossils to show you guys, just to give you guys a kind of like a rundown of how it works. We will be showcasing all sorts of stuff, and each thing has a price, so if there's something that you guys like, just drop a comment in the comments section, or just say I want that thing, and we'll get an order set up for you. So I think we'll just start, and also just to let you guys know, we're having a bit of a shorter stream today due to some personal matters, so we're going to be only streaming for about an hour and a half. Hopefully that's okay for you guys, but I guess we'll just continue. Alright, so the first thing I'll show is this piece of smelt quartz. This is a smelt quartz point. Smelt quartz is made by taking quartz crystals and melting them down into kind of like a liquid and crystallizing it. So basically it's pretty much just like glass. It's not like a mineral. This is really popular in like Taoism and Buddhism. A lot of various Asian cultures will have smelt quartz like in an altar or things like that. Each color represents like different aspects of like their philosophies and different elements and that sort of thing. They are very pretty. Being a glass point, they catch the light really well. So there's lots of like rainbows and stuff you can see in there. So basically each color is like a different kind of oxide, like a metal oxide. So for example, in this case we have iron oxide, which is used to kind of give this like red color, which is pretty neat. This point is $69. That's currently what we're selling it for. Yeah, it's a pretty beautiful piece. It's really pretty in the sunlight. As you can see, there's kind of like you can see that, refraction in there whenever I turn the specimen. So it's definitely a very beautiful piece. All right, we're gonna move on to our next little segment here. We got all sorts of geodes. We had a couple of people asking about geodes, so I'm gonna show a couple of these guys. So we have small and medium. These are kind of like geodes from like the Brazil area. So we have some from India, it looks like. So basically, these are like agate geodes. I'll show a couple here. These are our $4 each series. Show a little bit, each time here. We got some of these small guys. And so, as you can see, each one of these is hollow. So what makes a geode is that you have some sort of pocket underground that is filled with crystals. That's basically what classifies a geode. So it has to be hollow, and you have to have points inside. Normally, when you have a pocket underground and you have some sort of like silica crystallizing inside, you're going to have like banded agate. And so banded agate's going to be, like these very thin bands. Let's see if I can find another one that has a really good example. Yeah, this one is pretty good. This is another $4 piece. As you can see, there's like these, almost looks like stripes or lines or layers. That is the agate. So generally, the agate will kind of close off this little cavity underground, and everything will just kind of crystallize inside. So given enough time, these would actually fill completely with crystals, and they wouldn't be hollow. So these are fairly like young geodes. So we have all sorts of these guys. They're really pretty. They're only $4 each. I'm gonna see if I can clean up this little thing here. See if I can get a piece of cloth or something. It's getting a little smudged up. There we go, that's probably better. Yeah, there we go. So this one, we can see there's all sorts of like layering inside. It looks like there's like a little hole on the other side too. That's pretty neat. So, as you can see, when you have these kind of like wavy layers and things like that, that usually tells, like a geologist, for example, that, okay, well, this geode was kind of like turbulating around. It was rolling around. It wasn't sitting in one spot while it was crystallizing. Could also mean that the fluid that was inside here, the mineral-rich fluid, was probably very viscous. So kind of like imagine the consistency of syrup, and that can kind of give those like wavy textures in there too. Show a couple more here. These guys are pretty neat. They're kind of like thin, you know, thin and narrow. It's kind of cool. Some of these have like these really pretty dendritic patterns. Yeah, we actually have quite a few of those. I'll show those after our $4 geodes. In fact, I'll show a couple now. So we have a handful of dark ammonites, and these are from Cambria, England. And they're called dark ammonites because they're dark. These guys are they're about like 300 or 400 million years old. The reason they're this color is because they're found in shale. So the shale is a very dark stone, and it's a laminated stone, meaning that it layers out. It's kind of like, you could call it like a hardened silt, basically. It's basically metamorphosed silt. But these little guys would lay out on the seafloor and just get trapped in, within the sediment, and they'd be preserved. And but these guys are really neat. We got this one here. Our dark ammonites, they are $19 each. And then we got this one over here. It's a bit smaller. Kind of a cute guy here. And we even have a couple more on the back that are sort of like hidden or embedded in between, which is kind of neat. We even have some imprints of some other ammonites right here. Now, usually these guys they're found in beds, so we call them fossil beds, and there's all sorts of like fossils in these beds. So when you find one, you're probably going to find like thousands or hundreds of thousands of other ones in the same area. So you can find them in clusters like that. So currently those are the only two that we have. We have this one right here, and then we have this one right here. So to kind of give you a size comparison, I'll hold them both up for you. So this guy's just a little bit smaller. I like this guy. This one's really detailed. It's also a little bit bigger. But those ones are the first one. All right, so we'll put that one aside for you, Gabriella. All right. All right, I'm gonna get back to these cool little geodes. So I think we got like maybe 3 more I can show. Got this one here. A lot of them are like teardrop shaped, which is really cool. Yeah, thank you. Greatly appreciate the business. Yeah, these are really pretty. Yeah, I really like this one. A couple of these other ones are also kind of like teardrop shaped. Now, I need to do some more research on these guys because, there must be like a reason for the shape. I would assume that the shape is caused by maybe like a pocket of air being trapped in between cobblestones, because the shape is not normal. And I don't know what else would make this kind of teardrop shaped geode. So when I find out, I will make a post about it probably. And we got one more $4 geode right here. As you can see, they're pretty hollow too. So, and they have all sorts of like little cool crystals inside. It's like it's like a little cavern, crystal cave. Very, very cool. Again, those tiny geodes were all $4 each. Yeah, we do have some smoky quartz. I don't know if we have any like here right now. I can have somebody go get some for me. We have our smoky quartz. Usually The smaller pieces, which are about like baseball sized, or even a little bit smaller than that, they can be anywhere between $30 to $40. And then the bigger they get, like the more expensive they get. So they usually start around that like high 20s to 40s for the smaller smoky quartz. So these guys right here, these are our large geode halves. These are from India. And as you can see, yeah, they're a bit bigger than the other ones. These guys are $8 each. We got some larger points as well. And you know, they're neat. You know, metaphysically speaking, geodes are really good for like creativity. If you feel kind of like in your head and you want to kind of escape, you know, these geodes are like their own little universe, their own little world. So looking at just one of these is just kind of like, you know, mesmerizing. So again, $8 each. This guy's pretty big. I think this is one of the biggest ones. And then we kind of have all sorts of other ones here. Again, that teardrop shape, right? Look at that. And so from the outside, if you're ever in nature and looking for geodes, and like you're in an ancient riverbed or something like that, if you see a stone like this, and usually you can tell if it's hollow or not if you like tap it with something metal, and if you hear like a high-pitched kind of ting sound, they sound different than solid rocks. So you can definitely tell like what they sound like, and that's usually how you can find out if it's like, you know, hollow or not. But yeah, the environment you find these in are like ancient riverbeds, desert environments. So in the United States particularly, you can find them a lot in the desert areas like Utah, and like Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, all basically places that used to be covered in water at one point in time. Would you like this, Carly? We can put this aside for you if you want. Show another one here. Now this one's kind of neat. This is a really long one. Looks like a kind of like a little arrowhead. Alrighty. Yeah, these are really neat. Yeah, and I mean from the outside you can just kind of see like you can kind of see like that it's a little unique, right? You see all these little like swirls and vesicles. All right, we'll put that one aside for you. You know, when you look at this kind of stuff from the outside, seeing a stone like this should just give you like an immediate like, oh, this is something really interesting. Maybe this might be a geode or a piece of agate or something. Usually this indicates some banding. And, you know, obviously it does. So it's just kind of neat. All right, we got a couple more of these large geodes here. This is probably our second largest one. You know, I'm a big fan of the dark, kind of like blackish geodes. I think they're kind of like more mysterious. So this one is kind of like it has a smoky kind of texture to it, which is sort of neat. See how close I can get to this cluster here without making my camera out of focus. And as you can imagine, these are very pretty in the sunlight. Just each individual facet reflects light, so it looks like a disco ball. It's very, very, very pretty. Our last geode for our large geodes, again, these are all $8 each. This one is a bit of a very hollow geode. The wall is so thin on this one. So from on the inside, I mean, like, you know, you can tell there's a lot of space in here. I mean, just to kind of give you an example, I mean, that's just, you know, on my finger. We've like, I mean, just look at that. And so generally the smaller crystals like this tells me that this is like a very young geode. So this isn't really that old, which is why the walls are so thin and this, you know, the points are obviously really small. So, you know, that this kind of thing you'd find like maybe, you know, closer to the surface possibly. A lot of these larger ones have been like, you know, they're much older obviously because it takes a lot of time for these crystals to grow. So yeah, so again, those were our $8 geodes, and we're going to show some smoky quartz pieces because that's what you guys wanted. So we have 4 smoky quartz pieces that are they're pretty affordable. These are actually about like the like $40 range. I think we have some that are a little bit cheaper. So this one is a $48 smoky quartz cluster. As you can see, there's some translucency in there, and there's also some phantoms. So for those that are familiar with our business, we have a lot of our like quartz points are from Arkansas, and there's a region known as the quartz belt, and most of it runs through Arkansas and a couple of the states down there, and just the geology of that area is makes it perfect for these guys to start growing. That whole area used to be part of a old ancient mountain range back when all the continents were together as one to create the supercontinent Pangaea. When they were all smashed together, they created this long chain of mountains, this big huge chain, and the Appalachian Mountains were actually a part of that. And the Appalachians used to, they would kind of run, around that whole area of the United States, and kind of like taper off sort of in that area around Arkansas. That metamorphism, that pressure, and that slamming together of the Earth's crust created a lot of pressure, lots of fracturing, lots of quartz being deposited, like this beautiful piece here. Now, quartz, like smoky quartz specifically, is quartz that has been irradiated, which means that it's been heated by something. So you could have smoky quartz form by being heated up by the sun over the course of thousands of years, or you could have smoky quartz form by heating it up internally, like the inner earth could just heat it up. So that's how smoky quartz forms. Which obviously makes it a bit more rare, because that doesn't happen to all quartz clusters or points. So again, with this piece here is $48. We're going to move on to our next one here. This is a $42 piece. And just to kind of talk about the location that these are found, all of our smoky quartz and clear quartz pieces, I'd say most of them are from a mine called the Coleman Mine. And the Coleman Mine is in Arkansas. It's run by a family that's been, mining for generations now. And they're really cool. They get clusters that are the size of like a car. It's incredible. So, definitely if you're in that area, they actually have like pay to dig kind of thing. So you can actually, if you're driving through, you can stop by and pay a small little fee. And, you can mine and keep everything you mine. So for them, it's like, that's a way they can get business and stuff. And but it's cool. Most mines around the country like that are usually pay to dig. They let you dig for a little small fee. So this piece here, $42. It's a really pretty piece. Metaphysically speaking, smoky quartz is really good for like diffusing like radiation, like EMF waves, that kind of thing. But mainly it's like good for like just repelling negative energy. So having something like this, if you're like, worried about, someone or something, attacking you somehow, like that, like negative energy, that kind of thing. Having this can be like a good luck charm, sort of repel that. This next piece here, this is a $29 cluster. This is really pretty. So this is also from the Coleman Mine, and just to kind of give you an idea of the variation, we can get points that are a little bit larger, and then we can get these beautiful, like almost slaty pieces of quartz clusters. Gosh, there's a name for these. If I remember, I'll say it. But basically, Faden quartz, that's what it is. So Faden or Faden quartz, that's a term for quartz crystal clusters that grow like in thin kind of plates like this. And on one side or both sides, you have these really pretty clusters. And of course, the quality of the quartz at that mine is super high. So, you can see a ton of, really beautiful light refraction in some of these points. And for $29, this is like a really good deal, I think. See if I can get a really close up here. Yeah, that one point sticking up right there is really cool. Alright, we're going to move on to our next piece and our last smoky quartz piece. This is a good example of that fade in quartz. So, you know, a lot of the eastern and southern states of the United States, they sit atop a limestone basement rock. And so a lot of the, this like area where you find these quartz crystals, sometimes you can often find lots of limestone, being the matrix rock for these quartz clusters. This piece here I'm going to show is $79, so it's much bigger, and it's really pretty. And as you can see from the side here, that sparkly rock that's kind of in between the quartz, that is limestone. And so when you have metamorphosed limestone, you can create fracturing and that kind of thing. And oftentimes you can have intrusions of hot mineral-rich water coming up and hydrothermal activity, which will deposit this stuff, which is really neat. Yeah, look at that. That's a really pretty light refraction right there. So, you know, as you can see, this is a really pretty piece. Again, this is $79. And it's a pretty decent size too. A piece like this, we'd probably like, you know, have like a display stand with it as well. Since pieces like this are really nice just to kind of sit up somewhere, like on a mantle. You know, and as you can see too, I mean, like obviously the points are really pretty, but like just even the back side here is really, just really neat. Now we have like quite a few other smoky quartz pieces, but since we're kind of limited on time today, we're gonna just, you know, look at a couple of them. Alrighty, so we're gonna put these guys back. Next, we're gonna look at some of our soapstone carved animals. We have all sorts of little like cute soapstone animals that we had got last year. All sorts of little creatures. These are kind of neat. We did a couple posts on them about them. We have some dinosaurs and things like that, which is kind of cool. So, yeah, for example, we got this really cool T-Rex here, and all of these guys are $12 each, which is yeah, no problem, Gabriella. So, you know, yeah, this is kind of like they're kind of neat. They're about like, you know, I'd say like 2 inches to 3 inches, they're like, you know, large. So we got this cool little T-Rex guy here. I think just to make things simpler, I'm just gonna show the dinosaurs first. And then we got this cool little, like, I think it's probably supposed to be like an iguanodon or something, or like a stegosaurus. I think this is probably an iguanodon. It has one little spine here. You know, these are really popular in Mexico. Like, just in general, a lot of these handmade stuff, like, we have like a lot of like onyx cups and plates and things like that, and a lot of those come from Mexico. There's a lot of like, there's a family that we do business with, really sweet family, and they it's like a multi-generational like mining company, and they mine obsidian and they make cool stuff like this, so which is really neat. And then we got this brontosaurus, which is kind of cool. And then we got these cool little guys. And these guys are supposed to be pterodons, but I mean, generally that they're kind of like low resolution carvings, so trying to identify the species is a little difficult. But the material, soapstone in general is a fairly soft material. It's a very carbonate rich, so it's easy to work with, grind down, that kind of thing. So you can make lots of like cool little carvings out of this stuff. Most of these carvings and stuff, it's like a traditional kind of form of art that dates back to the Mesoamericans and Native Americans, and so both cultures would carve things out of stone, little fetishes, little sculptures, bowls, cups. And since this material is so soft, it was easy to work with. You can make all sorts of stuff out of it, which is really neat. All right. Now I'm just going to show a couple more here. We have some like kind of random animals. We have this cute little penguin here. Then we got this really neat scorpion. I actually really like this guy. This is pretty cool. So as you can see, we have like a whole like variety of these. We have like a little alligator. And we got a snake. We got a dolphin. So the list goes on and on, I guess. We even have a sheep. And a rooster, and a duck, and an armadillo, a mouse, this cute little fish guy. So, if you are looking for a cute little figurine to get somebody, or put on your desk or whatever, this is definitely a kind of a neat little thing. All right, gonna put these guys back, and then next, we have. See what we got here. We have a couple other things. We got some big desert rose clusters, and these clusters, the price is pretty good. I think most people would be surprised by the price. So these are really big. As you can see, they're massive. They're about the size of my head. Let's see. So this guy here is $65. And it's absolutely massive. So I'm just going to kind of set this guy down because it's very heavy. So take a look at that. So desert rose clusters, as you can see, the crystals themselves sort of look like rosebuds, right? They look like little roses, hence the name. And these form in desert environments. Really, they form in like dune sort of environments, so sand areas. These came from the Sonoran Desert, and particularly they came from a region known as the Imperial Sand Dunes. So the sand dunes run through Southern California and into Mexico. Well, thank you, Dan. Really appreciate that. We love this stuff too, and we're glad that you are really appreciating it. So it makes us happy. It's going to a good home. Yeah, these guys are really really pretty. I really like these because they form really quickly. So these guys form when you have water, like rain, for example. Seldomly, it'll rain in the desert, and the water will dissolve like certain minerals and things like that. And you'll have this, kind of like this calcium carbonate material start forming. And then, so these actually form, and they're like fairly small. They're basically like a tiny little bud at first, and then over time, these guys are just sitting in the sand, and the sand kind of like the calcium carbonate kind of cements the sand together, and then you have these huge kind of clusters forming over the course of like years, centuries even. So these are really neat. So again, this guy here is $65, and then we got another one we're going to show. Let me put this camera back. And these guys too, they're massive, right? So these would for sure come with a display stand, so you don't have to worry about like balancing it on your shelf or something. This guy is a bit cheaper and it's a bit smaller. This is a $40 Desert Rose cluster. And this one is really cool. You know, I like the Desert Roses that have the kind of like the thin blades and stuff like that. They're really kind of like otherworldly. For if anybody here plays video games like World of Warcraft, this reminds me of like Blade's Edge in the Outland. So I'm a nerd, I know. Yeah, these are like kind of like alienish, and they look like a little like cool crystal cavern. So this guy here is kind of neat. On one side it's very sharp blades, and on the other side it's kind of like you see this exposed area. This was the surface. So when you're digging for these, you'll see like this kind of bumpy, kind of worn down surface. That's how you know you found like a Desert Rose cluster. This is what it will look like when it's exposed to the air. Again, this guy is $40. Really beautiful specimen. All right, we're gonna move on to our next one. This is the last one we're gonna show. We got, oh man, these are beautiful. This is a $45 one. Oh, that's not good. So this guy here is $45. Just take a look at that. So as you can see, it's actually about the same, roughly the same size as the other one. These guys, they're so common. They're usually just priced by the gram or by the pound. So you know that's usually how they're priced. And that's why they're very cheap, is because they're very, very common. They're very young crystals and they don't take a lot of time to grow, but they're very beautiful. I feel like this is one of those very underappreciated minerals that you see, you know, in a gas station stop somewhere in the middle of nowhere. People are like, oh, it's Desert Rose. I've seen those before. But no, I think that they're very underappreciated and they're very beautiful, and you know, they're really unique. You can just kind of turn it around here and kind of look at all the angles. So each angle is just so beautiful. So really, if you want to, like, you know, if you want something like this, you can display it anyway. And this right here, this crystal, I mean, you can really see it looks like a flower bud, you know, like it looks like a rose, a desert rose. It's really neat. Alrighty, we're gonna put this guy aside now. Big heavy one. All right. Okay, so let's see what else we got here. We have this beautiful piece of zebra calcite. This is a $48 piece of zebra calcite. So this comes from Mexico, from like around Mexico City area, and that region particularly used to be an inland sea, and it used to be covered in water, like a big ocean. And throughout the like interglacial period, which is the period we're still in, you know, having glaciers come and go, recede, sea levels drop and rise. That whole area kept getting flooded and then dried out, flooded and dried out. And so this is basically a product of that. Calcite is a evaporate mineral, and it's called an evaporate mineral because it forms when you have water evaporating. So when you have like for example, really highly like mineral rich water, when you evaporate that out, you basically raise the concentration. It becomes super saturated with all this like mineral, you know, just a bunch of minerals, different chemicals, that kind of thing. And so the product is having calcite form, and these beautiful pieces of calcite that come out of Mexico, they're all different kinds of colors. They all come from the same area. You can have greens, blues, reds, yellows. This stuff, which is kind of like zebra stripes. It almost looks like a slice of cake. We've been told by a couple of people. So definitely looks very, very pretty. And this piece too, I mean, this is like, I really like seeing these like strata, you know? I mean, just look at that. If we get a close up here, the layers. I mean, it looks like candy or taffy or something. You know, that's a good question. You know, usually for like about like a millimeter's thick worth of calcite would probably take about anywhere between 10 to 100,000 years. And because it's, you know, it'll form fairly quickly if you have like high evaporation in an area, but anywhere between that period of time. And generally in that Mexico City area where these are found, each millimeter is about like 100,000 years old. So if you count that out, you can kind of like date the age. You can also do these, you know, radiometric dating, which will give you an exact age. Each layer is like, you know, I mean, this has been going on for millions of years, and the layer, the whole area itself, is like a layer cake of different colors of calcite. I've always wanted to go there, and see it, and it's like just so much history just locked in the rock like that. But just to think, like, I think the last time I checked, they've measured it out, and there's about a mile thick layer at least of calcite. And so every millimeter, right, you know, around 100,000 years old, that's a lot of time. So, and you know, there were periods of time where like you'd have, yeah, tens of millions of years. Yeah, there'd be periods of time when like the sea would just kind of come in, and then like something would happen, and then just the sea receded. So usually you can tell by like the thickness of these layers. Like, for example, if one layer is like consistently the same color, that kind of tells you that that's from the same period. And then something changed right about here, and then you had some more calcium-rich water come in. So it really depends. But yeah, I mean, the whole layer itself, I mean, you're talking like tens of millions of years. But yeah, so again, this guy's $48. Beautiful piece. And I think I'm going to show these. These are our black tourmaline quartz points. These are cut points. This guy's $40. And as you can see, we have clear, or kind of like a white quartz with black tourmaline running through it. For those who are familiar with the metaphysical qualities of black tourmaline is really good for diffusing negative energy. It's very good for that. If you have nightmares, put a piece in your pillowcase, that kind of thing. And then, geologically speaking, when you see tourmaline form anywhere, that usually indicates that there's, some sort of pegmatite, which is like you have magmatism going on, meaning that you have like probably a subducting plate somewhere underneath the continent, and that plate melts, and that melted material percolates up through the crust, and sometimes it'll come up through the crust and create a volcano, and other times it won't even reach the surface, and it'll just kind of crystallize underground. And this is a case of where the magma crystallized underground and gave us beautiful crystals. So this kind of material you can find anywhere in California. We have the Sierra Nevada mountain range. We have the transverse range around Los Angeles. That's the Angeles Mountains and the San Gabriel Mountains. You can find this kind of material there too. You can find this material around San Diego and the Cuyamaca Mountains, the Peninsular Range. And you can also find it further inland towards like Arizona and Nevada, Utah. And so this indicates that you just have some magmatism going on. And so the crystals, these black tourmaline crystals, they usually grow in long rods, and they point away from the source of heat. So usually the source of heat will be the center of a pocket of magma, and the coolest part of the pocket will be along the edge. So which is why they're kind of like, most of them will be oriented in the same direction. So this guy here is $40. These are nice altar pieces too. If you want to put this piece like on your desk or on your altar or on your shelf, your entryway, they're very pretty. This guy's really cool too. This is a $45 one. Now pieces like this, they don't come out of the ground like this. So they usually these are like what we call massive pieces, which are just big, large chunks of rock, and there's no crystal points. Maybe there's a couple pockets here and there, but basically it's one big, massive piece of quartz. And so to really kind of accentuate the beauty of the piece, you gotta cut it and polish it. And so in this case, they've been cut into points, which is kind of cool. This next one, our last one that we're going to show, this is a $22 black tourmaline quartz point. It's $22. This has like a couple pieces of black tourmaline in it. It's kind of neat. The quartz itself is sort of like translucent, so you can see the rod running through the quartz specimen, which is really neat. Kind of looks mysterious, sort of. Those that know me know that I really like kind of like semi-translucent minerals. I love metallic minerals. Those are really cool. So this kind of stuff, I love this. This is really pretty. All right, we're gonna move on to our next little series of stuff here. We got some Aura quartz. Now, Aura quartz is coated quartz. It's coated via a vacuum deposition process. That basically means that these raw natural quartz clusters or quartz points have been put into a vacuum chamber with a it really isn't shipping. Shipping's not that bad. You can talk to our little moderator in the chat, and he'll let you know. We do, like, for things that are small like this, I think shipping's like around like $8.95 or something like that for small stuff. For the larger stuff, the shipping does go up because we need, larger boxes. We do like priority mail, so that way we can have like a solid, like stable flat rate price for shipping things. So which is good. but yeah, that's it. When there are some mining companies like us that will sell like these huge amethyst cathedrals, which are like the size of like a building, like they're as tall as a building, like 13 feet tall, and those take like tens of thousands of dollars to ship, plus you have to pay for insurance, and then you're talking like a huge wooden crate. Shipping a massive cathedral like that is insane. So, and those usually cost like millions of dollars. So we don't have anything like that. Maybe one day, but Anyways, these guys are Sunset Aura quartz pieces. And so these quartz pieces have been put into a vacuum chamber, and a metal vapor has been pumped inside the chamber. And the vapor will coat every surface inside the vacuum chamber. In this case, we have Sunset Aura quartz, which is basically been coated with gold vapor, which is really neat. And so this guy here is $36. Not a bad price for something coated in gold. And as you can see, these guys are kind of metallic looking. They're iridescent, and the thickness of the vapor on the surface of the crystal will determine how translucent each facet is. Yes, it is an atomic thin, basically an atom thin layer of gold, at least. Sometimes if there's areas that are harder to see through, like this surface here, it could be a little bit thicker. The process is very expensive too. You have to get a big vacuum chamber, you have to put these guys inside, and then like flip them over to make sure every single side is coated. The process is very tedious. This is another $36 Sunset Aura point. So as you can see, it's very pretty. These are very pretty in the sunlight. They catch the light really well. And you can basically use any kind of vapor, or you can basically just coat anything you want. I'll give you an example. I think I have a piece on my desk here. So, by the way, those pieces were $36. And then we got this. This is not for sale, but this is just an interesting example. This is a river rock that has been coated in a kind of like a alloy of sorts. And this was given to me as a gift. As you can see, it's kind of holographic too. This was made via vacuum deposition, and the person that made this and gave it to me, he was like an old rock hound and up in Oregon, and he would trick fishermen by making these and then tossing them in the river. And the fishermen would be fishing in the river, and they'd see this piece of gold in the river, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, what is this?" That's the story he told me. So, which is kind of a neat little trick to play on somebody. But they're really, like, you know, I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. You can coat anything you want, basically. These guys here I'm going to show. These are pieces of Angel Aura quartz. Angel Aura has been coated with platinum. So I think platinum is more expensive than gold. I don't know. I'd have to check. But these guys are $39 each, and they're like kind of long, skinny points, and they are very, very pretty. They catch the light really well. Yeah, they're really nice. All right, we got this one more Angel Aura point. And just as a reminder for people, if you're watching this right now, or as a video on demand later, all of our episodes are uploaded to YouTube, so you can go on there and check out the stream, rewatch it, and if there's something you see that you like on the stream, just drop a comment in the comment section, or just DM us and say, "Hey, is that piece from an hour and 20 minutes still available?" And we'll say, "Yes, it is," or "No, it's been sold. Sorry." So whatever you see on the stream, you can always message us and ask us if it's still available, and we'll let you know. All right, so we got a couple more things. Got a little bit of time left here. All right, so what do we got here? We have. I think I'm going to show the stuff that's kind of loose here with a couple things. I'm going to show these really pretty amethyst points. I think these are technically phantom amethysts. These are $14 each. Yeah, these are phantoms. These are like kind of faint phantoms. These are from, they should be from Namibia. So that's a beautiful country in Africa. So this guy here is $14. And as you can see, what makes it a phantom is you have some amethyst phantoms, which are kind of like these, you can see them, they're like purple sort of lines along the edge of the crystal specimen. And those are basically the equivalent of tree rings in a tree, so they're like little growth lines. And they kind of tell a little story of the growth of the crystal, and its story, which is kind of neat. And most of these phantom points usually come from like Namibia. And most amethyst points in general have phantoms in them, since the growth is a little bit irregular. But in Namibia has really beautiful pieces. Yeah, it's just, I think out of all the other locations on Earth, Namibia has some really nice phantom amethyst pieces. In fact, that's I think that might be one of their national minerals too. So definitely check that out if you're ever in Namibia. All right, got another $14 amethyst point here. This one's really neat. The quality of the quartz is really, really nice. So notice we have, like, you can see my finger on the other side. When you have amethyst points in general, they're not going to be that translucent. They're going to be very opaque, kind of like what you see on this side of the point. You're not going to see all the way through the point like that, which is really uncommon. And this is kind of like a heart stone. It's very like thick in the middle. It's really pretty. Yeah, they do look like lavender ice. Yeah, these are really nice. This kind of material, if you're a gem cutter, or if you want to like make a faceted stone, when you're looking for a point to cut or crystal to cut, you're looking for something like that. So you can see there's hardly any fractures in there. It's very very clear. So that would be what you'd want to look for if you're like a gem cutter looking for a gem or a crystal to cut. We've had a couple people over the years come to us and specifically look at our points just to do gem cutting, which is kind of neat. All right. All right, so now we got these really pretty fluorites here. So we got these fluorite octahedrons, and they're $9 each, and they're pretty big. I guess I'll just kind of pour them out of the bag they're in. We got a lot here. So I guess I'll just kind of look at the first one. Look at that. Isn't that neat? I think it's really cool. So these are fluorite octahedrons, and they naturally form like this. They're not cut. And when you break fluorite crystals, there's these in mineralogy. We have these we call these things called we have these structures called cleavage planes. And when you cleave through something, imagine an axe cleaving through something. You're basically cleaving through the crystal. And these cleavage planes are points of weakness or layers of weakness that the stone or the rock or the material will commonly break upon, since it's a point of weakness. And so in the case of any crystal, usually the points of weakness are the cleavage planes are located upon the facets of the stone, and they're always it really basically it correlates with the mineral structure of the crystal. So because we have an octahedron here, that tells us that all right, we have octahedral cleavage planes. So we have a cleavage plane here, 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 and here. We have 8 cleavage planes. So whenever you're breaking it with a hammer, for example, whenever you break a piece of fluorite with a hammer, when it breaks, it'll break upon those planes. And if I broke this apart, I'd probably get smaller, little tiny octahedrons out of it, which is kind of neat. So that kind of explains the shape. But these guys are really pretty. They naturally form like this, and these are all $9 each. As you can see, they have with different colors. Some of these have some really nice layering as well. So very, very pretty. And the colors, they kind of range in between clear to kind of like a greenish color like this one, to maybe a dark purple like this one. So generally the common colors for fluorite are greens and purples, but you can have some really rare varieties of fluorite that are orange or yellow or white, some that are red, watermelon colored, meaning that they're like pink on the inside and green on the outside, which is kind of neat. This one has some nice layering as well in it. And we got all sorts of these. And these come in all sorts of sizes. We have these large ones, and then we have small ones that are like the size of a dime. We have some that are a little bit bigger than this, and medium-sized ones. So alrighty, we'll put that one aside for you. Yeah, and it's just like these guys are just really, really pretty. Whenever you see something like this in nature, people often ask, is it real? You know, is it naturally forming like this? And it is. This is kind of a neat little thing I just noticed. You can see that there's a fracture here that's kind of like an old fracture. It looks like it's filled in with some iron oxide. But notice where it's cut, right? It's cut in line with this plane here. So that's just a perfect example of what I was explaining earlier about those cleavage planes and how the stone, the crystal, will actually cleave upon those planes whenever it breaks. I'm going to show a couple more here. This guy's kind of neat. It's like kind of a faint green, purple one. And now these ones here, they're very, very pretty. I would say that these are like, yeah, you know, it is, I've thought about that. It's like actually like maybe carving some like dye into some of them, like some numbers. You know, maybe one day we'll like make some, you know, D&D dice. That would be kind of cool. Also, shout out to this guy, Dan Miller. He makes a lot of cool dice and stuff out of resin. Really love the work you do. This guy's really neat. It's kind of like a dark, like bluish one. We got a little blue there. That's really neat. So as you can see, the quality, I would say these are like AA quality. So, you know, AAA quality is like the best quality. That means you'd have really like fine layers, fine facets, really sharp looking. But when they're like a little bit roughed up like this, you know, this like quality goes down. So, you know, these I'd say would like they'd be about like AA quality. And that blue right there, blue fluorite, is also like, it's not ultra rare, but it's like getting up there. So having some blue fluorite in there is kind of uncommon. Alrighty, then we got this one. This one's really neat. It's kind of like this layer cake of green and purple fluorite, which is really neat. Yeah, I like this one. It's almost like a candy stripes. Alrighty, we're gonna move on to our next little bunch of things here. Alright, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly show a couple of these handmade items here, and then show some of our last points that we're going to show here. So, yeah, I think I'll show these, and then those. Alright, so I'm going to show maybe like 3 of these. So we have these really beautiful hand-carved buffalo bone eagle feathers, and there's a Native American family that we do business with from the Dakotas. I think it's South or North Dakota, one of those, and they and these are also drilled, which is kind of cool. So they have all sorts of like, they live on the reservation, and they have all sorts of like handmade goods. They have sweetgrass, sage, tons of like leather and animal pelts. And so everything, you know, one thing about them is they don't waste anything at all. Everything goes to use, even the bones. So, for example, these beautiful hand-carved buffalo bone eagle feathers are absolutely gorgeous. We're selling these for $12 each, and they're drilled. So if you're kind of into making some stuff out of this, definitely, this is kind of a already kind of a pre-made thing for you. And just to kind of give a little bit of history, you know, the eagle is a sacred animal in Native American cultures. So, you know, usually when you're talking about the eagle, you're talking about a predator and, you know, up in the sky, basically all-seeing. The eagle can see everything. And the name eagle was given to those that had incredible foresight or were very wise. So the eagle, just eagle medicine in general, is very powerful medicine. So definitely having one of these is kind of a you know, it's nice to have that energy around. So, and it also is made by a really awesome family, so which is really cool. And that's something we like doing, is we like working with people like that, like family businesses, and from around the world. So you know, because yeah, it's gotta support one another, you know. All right, we'll put one aside for you, Carly. Choose a pretty one here. And we have all sorts of those. We have a ton of them. So, you know, no matter whether you're a crafter or if you just want one for like an altarpiece or you know, whatever purpose, we have a ton. So let us know. All right, next we have these beautiful pink opal bracelets. These are from, I think they're from Peru. They are from South America, but you can, I did some research, and apparently you can find this material in a couple other locations. Central America, you can find it in the Middle East as well. So pink opal has a manganese in it, which gives it kind of like a pink color, and also that's what those dark little spots are. But it is actually a type of opal. And so when we see opal, we think, oh, it's like this beautiful iridescent rainbow mineral or amorphic mineral. But you know, there's also, you know, common opal, which is opal that is not, it's just opaque. It's not translucent at all. And so these guys here, these are $16 each. And pink opal is really just lots of love energy. And these are all, you know, just kind of hand strung as well. And they're strung on some stretchy band, so anybody can really wear it. So whether you have a, you know, a big wrist like me or a small wrist, it really does not matter. They kind of fit all people. So we got all sorts of them here. So, and they're all roughly the same. Each bead is obviously unique. So, but you know, they're all pretty much the same. So if you want one, we are more than happy to take pictures for you of all of them and let you choose. Again, these are $16 each. Alrighty. Next, we're going to look at some citrine points from Brazil. And these are AAA quality citrine points. And just the quality is just you know, breathtaking. The facets are really sharp, and the clarity is just really stunning as well. So there's hardly any microcrystalline fractures in these. Some of them do have some fracturing, which gives it that rainbow kind of look, because that's what causes the rainbows and crystals. Now these guys here, we're looking at, these guys are $12 each. These are from Brazil. And amethyst in Brazil are actually chemically, you know, the same basically. The only difference is that one has an extra iron ion plus charge or whatever. The other one has just one minus charge on it. So basically, the difference between I think it's plus, I always forget this. It's either +3 or +4, +2 or +3. Basically, it's one has a +3 or the other one has a +2, basically. And that variation is usually caused by heat. So it takes iron to make these guys. It takes, you know, obviously you have quartz, which is SiO2, but what makes it amethyst or citrine is the iron ion, which is added into it. And so this iron ion, depending on the temperature that this is crystallizing at, you'll have either citrine or you'll have amethyst. And so, and that variation, that threshold of whether it's amethyst or citrine is very delineated. So whether you raise the temperature up by 1 degree or -1 degree, you can have citrine or amethyst. So oftentimes you can find these beautiful pieces of ametrine, which is amethyst and citrine in the same crystal. And it just changes depending on what the temperature was when it was cooling or crystallizing out. So, which is really neat. I'm going to show another one here. Again, these are all $12 each. This one is really neat. It has these really neat kind of like, I think last time I had found out that they're like hematite crystals that crystallized out. And so those dark lines there, those are actually little kind of spidery little hematite crystals growing into the top layer of the citrine point, which is really neat. And then we also get this cool little point kind of growing out right here. And lots of microcrystalline fracturing in this one. So we have lots of surfaces inside the crystal for the light to reflect and refract off of. Really, really neat. It also is kind of shaped like a heart. Yeah, it is shaped like a heart. Really, really pretty. See if I can get a close-up here. Yeah, this is very pretty. I like the ones with inclusions, which are just basically just things that are kind of floating around in there. This point is really neat. This is a kind of like a when these crystals are growing, they grow in they have like a tiny root. So I'll just show this one for example. So imagine a tooth. The root of your tooth is very thin and narrow. This is the root of the crystal, and then the crown of the crystal is this wide kind of point at the top. This is the crown. So the crown of the point, the root of the point down here. And so as these are growing, they do crowd, just like sometimes some people have crowded teeth. And when your teeth are crowded, your teeth will adjust and move around, and the ones that are bigger will push the other ones away. And oftentimes what can happen is you can have some impacted crystal points, which are basically crystal points that are trapped inside of a like in between a bunch of points, and they just kind of fill in the space that they're given. So this guy is one of those impacted points. It's kind of weird looking. I got like 3 roots here, sort of, and then we have a facet at the top here, and this is just, there must have been a point at the very top that capped it off. It looks like this right here was the only surface, because this is a very smooth facet right there. That was probably the only surface that was exposed to the cavity underground. The rest was trapped by other crystals, crowding it. So it was probably oriented in this direction. Maybe you had like a point growing up this way and a point growing up this way, which trapped this in between, which is why it kind of looks odd. But it's kind of neat, you know, having something like this is kind of unique. All right, it's going to show 2 more of these, and move on to our next little box. Here's another one. We got some more of those hematite crystals growing in. We got some microcrystalline fractures there. We have some rainbows. It's very pretty. Just to kind of remind you guys, we're having a shorter stream today due to some personal matters that we need to take care of. So we're going to be ending this stream at like about 1:30. So we have about 15 minutes left of the stream. So next weekend we're going to we're going to try to have some time to do the whole full 3 hours. So hopefully it's not too much of an inconvenience for you guys. This piece is really cool. It's kind of very heart-shaped, kind of thin. It's a very narrow point. All right, we're going to move on to our next little box. All right, so we got some geode halves. Going back to the geodes. These are some large geode halves. These guys, I believe they're from Utah. They might be from Brazil or Mexico. I'm going to have to check. Yeah, I think they're from Brazil. All right, so we got these kind of large, sort of round geode halves. We showed these a couple times already. These are much bigger. These guys are $12 each. And so they're a little bit different from the ones from India. The ones from India are a bit more teardrop shaped. These are kind of just round. And just to kind of give you an idea, this is what it looks like on the outside. You know, just like a normal kind of rock. You could... I mean, if you got a good eye, you can kind of definitely tell that we have some crystals kind of peeking in through here. So if you saw this in nature, you'd be like, yeah, this is definitely like this is not normal, and this is probably a unique stone, maybe a geode. So as you can see, we got these really pretty kind of like tiny pockets. Almost all of these have like really tiny pockets that kind of go into the stone, and lots of beautiful banding. And again, these guys are $12 each. Got that one. This one's really neat. I actually like this one. This is my favorite in the box. We have like a slight little amethyst cluster here with a little pocket right there, and we have this really cool, almost like a calcium carbonate layering going on. These white, very fine white layers. So that's really neat to see. And then also, of course, from the outside, we have this kind of like really interesting kind of circular like structure here, very round. So you definitely can look at this and tell, yeah, this is kind of something interesting. But just telling from the outside, you couldn't tell that this is what's on the inside, you know? So, which is kind of neat. This one probably has the largest pocket with the largest points. This one has like almost no agate at all, so definitely tells me that this was a very enclosed pocket and had no fracturing, so because there's no agate. Very pretty. I'm gonna move on to our next one. This is another kind of like amethyst geode. We have some agate in there, some agate layers. Now, whenever you see an agate layer, that usually means that the crystal itself, the geode, was fractured and let some mineral-rich water in, which deposited some layers. The agate almost acts like a cement. It seals off the fractures and the holes and cavities. And then once it's sealed off, the pressure and heat from this being trapped underground will start to crystallize that silica and generate points. And having the amethyst in there too, that just tells you that you had some iron kind of intruding in at some point too, which is kind of neat. Alright, we got a couple more here, and we're going to move on to our next little box. We have a little bit of amethyst in this one, some agate along the edges. This is more of like a classic geode. Kind of some nice little bugs here for like holding it. It's kind of nice. Very, very pretty. Again, these are all $12 each. This guy's kind of cute. It's pretty small. We got this one last one, which is just really like a just white crystal, just all silica, all agate. Yeah, this one's very pretty. And it's, I think it's our largest one in the set here, so just kind of neat. Alright, we're going to move on to our next box, probably our final box for the day. So I think we're just gonna focus on these for the last little segment. These are some of our palm stones. These are bloodstone palm stones. And bloodstone has a couple different minerals in it. It has some hematite, obviously some quartz silica. It also has some red jasper. And sometimes you can even see some pyrite in there. So I'll show a couple of them. We got 4 here to display. They're $6 each. They're like kind of like a neat conglomerate of all that stuff. So the green in there might be some like, could be some chlorite deposits. This red is definitely some sort of red jasper. Obviously the translucent material is all quartz silica. And then any little tiny sparkles you may see in there are little flecks of pyrite. And these are really pretty. You know, and also I guess I'll just mention too that on our website we have 57 varieties of tumbled stones available. So we're currently in the process of getting our palm stones up and onto our online store. So until we get them all up, we'll show a couple here on our weekly streams. And as you can see, you know, being palm stones, they're, you know, they're like palm sized. You can hold these; they're nice for holding. This one's really neat. This is very, very cool. This is like a lot of red jasper. Hey there. Oh, well, we're almost done, actually. We're having a bit of a short stream today. But next weekend, we're going to try to do the full 3 hours. But thankfully, no, no, none of that this time. Maybe soon. Once this pandemic is over, we'll be getting a lot of stuff, hopefully. But our streams are uploaded to YouTube, and I guess I'll just kind of say that now since I'm on my last specimen here. All of our streams are uploaded to YouTube. So if you go onto our YouTube channel, you can check that out and watch the streams. So in case you came in late, missed the whole thing, or you know, if you want to watch it later, definitely check that out. As you can see here, this has a lot of pyrite. But yeah, so please definitely go on there. It's, yeah, I know it's we have some stuff to take care of today. Yeah, hopefully, well, once this pandemic is over, we can all go rock hounding. We can't wait to do that. So we're gonna try really hard. You know, next weekend for sure we'll do the full 3 hours. But please definitely go on YouTube and check out our stream. It's going to be uploaded immediately after this is over. So please check it out. I think just because I'll show one more thing and then we're gonna stop for the day. So we got a couple minutes left. All right. Yeah, we definitely do. Yeah, this whole thing has been messing up my mojo, man. Alright, so the last thing I'll show is this beautiful piece of Iceland spar calcite from Madagascar. It's an $80 piece, and it's absolutely beautiful and absolutely massive. Take a look at this. Now, so this piece here is absolutely gorgeous. Madagascar has some beautiful pieces of Iceland spar, just calcite like this. Yeah, another name for this is optical calcite, and it's very pretty. These massive pieces are just, you know, very uncommon. It's hard to find very consistent pieces like this with hardly any like inclusions or impurities. So this is really cool. And also, of course, you know, the natural light splitting capability of the crystal, as you can see that, you know, you can see 2 of my finger basically. That splitting capability is very unique to calcite. It's because of the crystal shape, which is sort of neat. So this piece here is $80, and I think this is a nice piece to end our stream on. So yeah, look at that, very pretty stuff. Alrighty. Well, we're gonna stop the stream for today, and thank you guys for coming and watching. Hopefully we were able to give you a pleasant distraction today. And we're sorry that we were not able to do the full stream today. We just got to take care of some stuff, some personal matters. But we're going to be doing the full stream next Sunday from 12 to 3. So that's the plan. So hopefully you guys just tune in for that, and we'll be there, and we'll give you guys updates and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, so you guys have an awesome week, and we'll see you guys next Sunday.